Look who I see in my viewfinder there. I'm taking these off so I don't have all that reflection. Hello, Lou. How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored, sir. How about yourself?
I'm good. I was just saying just before I hit record there, you always have the coolest shirts on.
Well, I got to open the eyes first, and then when you open the eyes, then you go through in there, to the soul.
Exactly. You're a smart man. You're a smart man. So, what's new and exciting? I guess you just shot a movie, huh?
I just shot a movie. It paid my bills, people I wanted to work with, and there's a young man coming out of Australia that they think he's fantastic and stuff, and so I came and then they begged me because I should have taken that time off to take
Right.
care of you have to have a physical, spiritual, and an emotional assessment every 3 or 4 weeks. You get quiet and you get the doctors to check on you and you pray and you do all that stuff, find out what you got when you come out, then you continue on with your life. So instead
Right.
of they begged me so much, so I showed up in a wheelchair, really kind of half healthy, and I played him half healthy in the movie.
Ah, you showed
So
up in character.
I made it a character, and they're very happy and stuff. They still haven't paid me, so I'm going to say I'm going to sue you if you don't pay me in the next 28 hours.
Let it be put on notice right now here
Yeah.
on the Art of Being Dar that we
But
will come after you.
some Australians and stuff, and they're trying to make it with this young man,
Yeah.
and we'll see. We'll see.
Right on. What's the
Yeah.
name of the movie?
3 months.
3 months. Okay, great. Well, it's good to see you. It's been a minute, man.
Good to be seen. I've been busy. Kind of busy with all the movies coming out. So
Right.
on number one with 3 or 4 public relations firms, they squeeze all the energy out of you. There's no sleep.
Well, yeah.
My routine was gone. So finally,
Yeah,
by the time, in fact, they do 3 months, there was no energy really left. And they begged and
yeah.
begged and begged. So finally, I said, okay. So they gave me, I did it in 5 days, my part.
It's a
So
lot of work, man.
now, then I'm finished with that. I'm talking to the Dar Dixon person.
So
What's up,
you've got a
man?
movie that you say that again?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. We're staying alive. We're afloat here, me and the
Yeah,
wifey.
that's
Yeah,
right.
got the dog sitting here by my feet, you know.
Sure, my
Think
mom was still in the living room. Yeah.
yeah, thinking about maybe coming out to Atlanta, not so
Watch out.
distant future.
Watch out. Yeah. I got the wall back there, man.
What really?
I hit the wall. Is that an Egyptian on the far left or your far right?
I have got that is the Buddha.
That's a Buddha, right?
I jokingly say that that's my baby picture. I just turned it into a mask and hung it on the wall.
There you go.
And then that behind me right there,
Huh?
I'll lift it up just a little bit. That's a painting someone did of Donzelay years ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So we hang that up.
How's Lady D doing? She all right?
She's doing great, man. She's doing great. She's on the grind,
Uh-huh.
auditioning left and right. And
Mhm.
I think she might have something soon here. I don't know. I can't say too much. You know it is.
I understand that that's superstitious. You got to be superstitious about it.
A little bit. I've never bought into that superstition, but I respect it. I get it.
Yeah, I do
It's
too.
it's it's tough enough job. So listen, man, you just did your movie called The Cuban. Am I right?
There's a couple of them out. There's a Cuban, the one that's winning all the film festivals called The Foster Boy.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden the time came right for the third faith-based movie coming out called The Reason.
Oh wow. Okay.
One time, three coming out one time. So it gives me license to speak about the foundation and who I am, what I believe in. And then as we're going, you and I are about to do, get kind of deep and see what's relevant these days.
Let's dive deep, my brother.
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
tell them about the foundation. Let people know about it. Those who may not know.
Well, it's called the E-Racism Foundation. You take the word racism, put an E in front of it, and it speaks for itself. And I got it off the license plate of the Choctaw Indian storefront movement in New Orleans. And
I
they were
love it.
being prejudiced against. They thought they got sensitive about it. So they had 6 people in the store. That's where I got it from. I said, that's a great idea for something bigger than this. So I did the research on see if it was copywritten, and it was not. So I took it, and that was 15, 16 years ago. But once I started talking about it, it's amazing how unpopular I got in my
It is a very queer occurrence that when you start to talk about things that really matter,
Yeah.
it makes
Again.
it makes people uncomfortable. We know about that. Yeah, yeah.
We be uncomfortable so we can find out what the new comfort is. We need to.
Yeah, it's true. I want to shift gears 1 second because I want to share with the audience because I think that a lot of people do know, but then there are a lot of people that probably don't know, especially younger folks. So I know who you are. I know your body of work. And yet when we, started to talk, when we first met, it's been like 2 or 3 years ago, I think, in person. And then we came over to the house.
Right.
It hit me like, you're a living American icon. You are an artistic legend. You're a Hollywood legend. And it's amazing that that's not kind of front of mind more so. And I don't want to say that it's tied into what we just talked about, how ERACISM, you start talking about that and that makes some folks uncomfortable. I'm not going to say that that's the reason for it or that it's not the reason for it.
We'll talk about that explanation.
Let's talk about that in a second. But so the point I want to make is, when we walk into the house, Donsley and I would walk in there, and everyone knows you won the Academy Award for your incredible portrayal in Officer and a Gentleman. But what a lot of people forget, 2 Emmy Awards, NAACP Awards. I can't even name all of the awards, and they're just lined up on the wall over there. And it just hit me. Say, what's that?
People's Choices, Golden Globes.
Exactly. Golden Globes, People's Choice Awards. It's like a gold record. Like, I walk in and I'm like, oh my God, how is it possible that an artist with this kind of gravitas, this kind of body of work, all these awards is not talked about and in everything that comes out more often, And so, first of all, brother, I thank you so much for doing this because, we try.
Promises these days.
Yeah, I understand. You're a busy man and there's a lot going on. So
first time, it's
the first time we had a wonky recording. I'm glad we're doing this now because, people get to see you.
Different things happened and, a lot of changes, a lot of courage now to speak my mind. And,
and kudos to you, Lou.
On a few toes, black and white. But the cure is simple. We have a debate tonight. They remind me of sometimes the teenagers fighting, maybe even less than the teenagers. Because they want to finish their sentences. And what they forget that those 2 men work for us. And it doesn't occur to them that they work for us. But we haven't pressed the issue. You guys work for us. Do what we tell you to do. And that's why we're voting for you or you. And it's amazing how out of focus we've been allowed to get and how we've allowed this to take us. So we have to go through pandemics. We have to go through wild storms. We have to go through tainted foods. We have to go to inequities and racism to get rid of the garbage in the jungle, for us to clear the mud off the top of the thing of the pond that we drink and bathe in, and clean up that water so we can see clearly the simple answer to us all.
Agreed.
It's like a bad Reuben sandwich. Bad smell.
There's that Brooklyn coming out of you again. I love it.
Yeah, you ever smell a bad Reuben sandwich?
Yes, I have. That's why I'm laughing.
And you're hungry.
I'm hungry right now, and I'm smelling a bad Reuben sandwich. So thanks for that one. But listen, I really mean this, and I really want to say this. I know I make you uncomfortable, so bear with me. But honest to God, you're getting a chance to meet a living legend here on the show, and he'll never talk about it unless you bring it up. And then even then, Lou, being Lou, the gentleman that he is, he'll always deflect it. So there's that whole part of you. Then the other part of you is that, you wrestled with addiction and your recovery. And it's just something you'll never talk about, but I'm going to talk about it. And forgive me, it's going to make you a little uncomfortable. but the work that you do to help others through their recovery, to me, speaks volumes about your character and who you really are, at your heart and at your core. And you don't have to do any of it. I know, it part of it helps you with your process, but what you do for, pardon?
It's called giving it away to keep it.
Well, I mean, you say it so casually, and it is that easy, but yet it's really difficult. But that speaks to, your character and your willingness to give of yourself to others going through, a really tough time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you do it all the time, and you're kind of a legend. I got to tell you, you're a legend. I can't tell you how many people that I've spoken to, and that Donsley's spoken to, and we have together, that know about you and the work that you do. So I just want to tip my hat to you and say, I see you, and keep doing you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's no small feat. I love that about you. So anyway, here we sit with Mr. Lou Gossett Jr. and his Academy Awards and his Golden Globes and his Emmy Awards. Now, Lou, you just got nominated for a third Emmy.
Yes, sir.
And it went to your co-star.
I went to my co-star and I voted for him.
I know you did.
I would have been naked too, and I would have won that Emmy.
I was gonna say you
Boy,
shouldn't
look
have voted
good.
for him.
Look
You
good.
should have voted for you.
He came out there in blue paint with no clothes on, and you could see the girl. Well, I don't have to go through all that. The nomination is good enough. Part of the crowd, being part of the club, is a blessing. And
It's rarefied atmosphere.
How many years now? We're talking about over 60 years.
Wow.
Nominated for an Emmy in this longevity. So I started comparing my life and career with others. Who's still working? Who's still getting nominated for Emmys? Who's still working? I don't think there is anybody. Black, white, yellow, from 1953 until today. So you jump.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody.
Yeah, thank you. I think about my contemporaries at the time, with the Melvin Douglases, the Nehemiah Persofs, Sidney Poitier, Bea Richards. Who else? Just Cicely Tyson.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Cicely,
That's the queen.
Totally. She's a sweetheart too, a great lady.
Yeah, that's the queen.
Yeah. You started out at 16, right? Or was it 17th birthday? You started your career.
Yeah.
In Broadway.
On Broadway in a play called Take a Giant Step. So we got good reviews, and so I was the new kid on the block. And there was such love there, but all of the black actors. So the black actors, of course, Josephine Baker, there was Paul Robeson, there was Hazel Scott, who married Adam Clayton Powell, which she did the thing with the two grand pianos playing it's all at one time. And then who else did you come and visit? Maxine Sullivan, Fred O'Neill, all those people, those black actors would come and take care of the kids so I wouldn't get in trouble. They'd bring me these great sandwiches and these fried chicken. And then the second weekend we opened, my great grandmother came in with a wheelchair.
Wow.
And my best friend was Paul Robeson. Yeah, big boy. He was excited to see this kid. So you hear, he said, "Get out of the way." So everybody gets out of the way. This is my grandma. And she runs. I said, "Grandma, you saw the play." She slapped me 5 times. Slap, slap. What you slapped me for? She said, "I taught you better to take care of your grandma." I said, "Oh, that's a line in the play. Slap, slap, slap. I don't care. I taught you better to take care of your elders, and I'm coming back to make sure you don't say it again." I said, "But it's a play." Now, all these actors and stuff, they're giggling. The tears are coming out their eyes and laughing so hard. So every time I came to the line, "Damn it, Grandma, I'm not going to do it," I stuttered.
Just beating on you in front of everyone.
And she slapped me and slapped me. And every time I saw her, she'd go, "Do you still slap your grandma?"
Amazing. You have great love for your grandmother. I know that.
She was responsible. She was responsible for all of that. She was an amazing woman. Before this is over, I'll locate a picture of me and her, and I'll show it to you on the screen.
Okay.
But her job was raising, just like back in the good old days in the adult cabinet, the elders were responsible for raising their children. But anybody younger with enough strength had to have a job.
Yeah.
So grandma and grandpa, great grandma, whoever they were, we were sent in the summertime to the south, me and my cousins, and we'd grow the watermelon, slop the hogs, and grow the vegetables, and be together, head to toe, head to toe. And I always got the cousin with the smelly feet. But here we are. So at the end of the summer, when we get back to Brooklyn, we were in incredible shape, really well fed. And so we were winning the sports championships. But my great grandmother, approximately, because you remember the Bible being started after the slaves were freed.
Right.
And when the Bible started, all the marriages, the births and the deaths were recorded. And her birth was not recorded in the Bible.
Oh, wow.
So she was old enough to know that slaves were freed. She knows old enough to know that the Bible got started. So approximately, when I just take a giant step in 1953, she had to be approximately 112 years old.
Wow.
And so
Wow.
yeah. So we took that for granted. Her and her husband, he died at 105. And then they did their thing. And she
Wow.
was an amazing woman. She was an amazing woman.
Wow. So now where did she live? What part of the country?
She was in Georgia, where I am now.
Georgia. Okay.
And then
Right.
back to Brooklyn, where she had to take care of all the children. And her daughter, my grandmama, was
Right.
part Cherokee, Seminole, and Black. She used to sit
Wow.
there with this thick black hair on a
Uh-huh.
stool. And every morning she'd sit there and put the hair down to touch the floor. And she'd do this thing. And within 10 minutes, it was all up on the top of her head. Gorgeous lady.
Incredible. Wow. Wow. So you even got native blood in you.
Yeah. So the stuff with my great grandmama, her mother had a love affair with a Seminole. He loved her so much that he became a slave for a year to be with her.
Really?
He escaped. Yeah. So there's some stories in this.
Incredible.
It's the Ray family, not the Gossett family. WRAY. And some nice stuff to hear about my people. But once again, now that here I am at 84, you are my people. That's the point. We are our people.
True.
Anything in the way must go away because God is sending us a signal. It's going to take mankind to save mankind. I don't care
True.
what color we are, what you think. All of it's got to go out of the window. All resentments, all lynchings, all Holocaust, all bitterness, all anger, all revenge, out the window. It's going to take mankind to save mankind.
I agree.
That's the punishment or whatever it is. That's the message we're getting from God.
What do you think about this, Lou? Given today's current political climate, everything that's going on, and with this guy who's in the White House right now, and being the demagogue that he is, and all this stuff that he's stirring up, I take comfort in science, and for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So no matter how bad anything gets, there is an equal and opposite reaction to that bad or to that good. And so as I see all this going on right now, to what you're speaking about, in a weird way, I mean, I don't agree with anything that's happening and coming out of the White House on any level. But the thing that is it's ironic. I think so much good is currently coming out of it and is going to come out of it. It has to.
Even as we speak.
Even as we speak. And I believe that if that messaging starts to get pushed, that agenda gets put, I can't call it agenda, but if that message starts to get pushed and talked about, like you're saying, that we'll become even greater.
Well, so one of it is our response. I think it's on me. I'm not the world foremost authority. I'm not like my great grandma.
Nor am I. I agree.
I think that the half of that job belongs to each individual person, where you sharpen your lens and see clearly, and you make a decision that we're never going to be in charge, and we put it from negative to positive. We see it happening even as we speak. I see what you're talking about on the basketball court, watching the World Series. Look at this. Look at the representation of those two teams. Look
Yeah,
at the management. Look at Mookie Betts. Come on. Look
I
at
know.
the movies. Look at the basketball. It's happening even when we speak.
Yep.
So you have to really put blindfolders on, not masks, to see the progress, whether we like it or not.
Right.
So the
Right.
best decision that God has put us through this pandemic is to start thinking, and there will have to come a time with each human being who's responsible has to
Mhm.
be one-on-one with the man in the mirror and God.
I like it.
And that's happening right now.
Yeah.
So I don't spend so much time talking about how bad our president is. He's just a human being.
Right.
To assume the responsibility of making this country the way it should be in the first place. And if we do that, enough of us during this election, then he will be stepped aside either forcibly or with love, always with love. And the right person might be in there. They might not be the right person, but we're going to go steps further in a positive way rather than complain so much about how bad a job he's doing.
Correct.
That's a human being without a light. So take him from there and put a light on him, and let's get on with this combination of people for the salvation of us all.
Agreed. Agreed.
But we're
You
going to
know,
go time talking about him.
I'll say this one last thing, to your point, and back to science.
Yeah.
There's a scientist, Belgian-born. His name is Ilya Prigogine, and he won the Nobel Prize, I believe, in 1977 for his work on dissipative structures. What does any of that mean?
Wow.
The long and the short of it is, an open system, which human beings are. Anything that is exposed to the elements, right? So human beings being that, he found out that open systems are affected by entropy, meaning that they will break down and they'll start to break down and they'll need to be repaired. And if they're not repaired, then they get destroyed. Or what happens more frequently is that the open system goes through a period of chaos and then it reorganizes at a higher level so that it can handle all of the input coming at it. And so I look at what's going on today in our world and in our country specifically, like we're talking about today. And I think that's what's going on. I mean, science dictates that's what's going on. So like you said, you got to take the mask off and take the blinders off and see that all this change is occurring. It's not going to be perfect right off the bat. Nothing ever is.
But nothing, it's the aspiration.
Right, exactly. And it comes in spurts, and it's jerky and it's uncomfortable at times, and then it'll smooth out and then it will happen again. It's the nature of life. That's how it goes.
I've gotten a small little reputation, which I care and I do care and I don't care. Black Lives Matter is not good enough for me.
Okay.
Say Black Lives Matter means somebody's done something bad to black people. And they have to get out of the way so we can have our rights. It's not their choice whether they have the rights or not.
Oh, true.
We wake up with the rights, and if they want to take them away, then Black Lives Matter, we can deal, but we got to get them out of the way. First, in our lives, to go where we truly, naturally belong, in the palm of God's hands. Then Black Lives Matter, lives matter. But it's such a popular movement.
Yeah.
But people are getting into a furor if you say you don't believe. I believe it. But let's waste some time. Let's not waste any time. Let's spend some time knowing who we really, truly are and contribute that to the whole of mankind.
You're getting deep,
So
man.
How great we are. We have most of our young people, they interrupted the message. They have no idea how great we are and have been and what we have to contribute.
It's true.
Yeah.
A very rich and full history.
And we got a lot to contribute.
True.
Look at Spain. Look at the waterways of Spain. Look at that's Africa. That's where the water came from in Granada and Cadiz and all those particular places. They figured out how to keep water fresh and coming through the city, and it cleaned. You went to, instead of streets, you put boats on. Venice, all of that comes from Africa.
Correct.
The things that happened in Africa that kept it clean. Look at that.
It's amazing.
That's only one. That's only one.
Oh, we could have a 5 hour show just talking
Yes, sir.
about like
Yes,
one
sir.
millionth of what they've
Yeah.
done.
But
Yeah.
then you go to see what the French have done, and that's pretty fantastic. And the
Yeah.
Greeks, Romans,
Yeah.
the combination of all those cultures of the Scandinavians, that's pretty prolific for mankind.
Yeah.
Let's concentrate on that combination.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like the NBA. That's why I like the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He's doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got this.
Yeah.
The second greatest basketball player today is Luka.
Arguably, yeah. Luke
Yeah.
is pretty amazing. Yeah. And Mark Cuban is an interesting guy. He
I like
definitely
it.
is.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's I'm going to switch gears for a second. Because we can talk about this forever. I love to hear your stories of coming up in the industry. And you were a member of the Actor Studio.
Yes.
And, we talked about it briefly, but, if you'd share it again, I love hearing the stories of the people who were in the class when you were in the Actor Studio. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I'll tell you a little truthful thing. I spoke about it at a male meeting. So I'm going to share this with you.
Okay.
The woman that got my virginity was a woman downstairs. I must have been 12 years old. And my mother didn't know that she was a madam, small-time madam.
Amazing.
And there's a bag in the bathroom, and it reeked of Lifebuoy soap. I don't know if you remember the original smell of Lifebuoy soap.
Absolutely, I do.
So she was one that took my virginity, and she took such care. She was my mother. She took such good care of me. So the dissect, right? Fade out, fade in. I'm up on Broadway. I'm sitting there with Marty Landau and Susan Strasberg and Lee Grant and some of the greatest actors I've ever seen in my life in that place. Paul Newman, Sidney Poitier, Joanne Woodward,
Amazing.
Stanley,
Amazing.
and Marilyn Monroe. So Marilyn Monroe married to Arthur Miller, who went to the same high school I went to. She got in there, and the people looked at me with a little half smile and a twinkle in their eye. And she came in and sat next to me, reeking of Lifebuoy soap. So she takes her hand and puts it on my thigh. And she whispers in my ear, I'd love to do the love scene from the Rose Tattoo with you. Talking about
my
Chinese.
God.
You think Chinese arithmetic was hard? I had to leave. And I looked, there's Marty Landau. They're in tears. They're laughing so hard. They set me up. They saw me do a sense memory about the woman and the Lifebuoy soap. And they set me up. There was Marilyn Monroe teasing me, reeking of Lifebuoy. It's off the market, so I don't know what it was. And I couldn't go back to that class until Marilyn split. She told me, hello. I said, what? This is Marilyn. Marilyn who? Marilyn from class. Are you going to do that love scene with me? And I hear the giggles in the background. Lifebuoy soap.
They're killing you, man.
Oh, God. That was a wonderful, what a society those people were. Even Marie Saint. Oh, gosh. All those wonderful actors and actresses. All poor. Jimmy Dean. One of Jack Palance.
Wow.
Oh, all those, Ralph Mika. All those people, Peter Falk.
Wow.
First off, I mean, those were great. That's where I learned my acting, with those men and women. It spilled off, And,
Yeah, it's a special time.
And I'm a teenager, drinking all of this in. So there was a plan. God had a plan for me. I had never acted before in my life. And I rubbed elbows and I had Horn and Hard Arts jelly donuts with them, and a pint of milk, and did sense memories and improvisation. And I worked all the time. All the New York television, You Are There, David Suskind's show.
Oh, wow.
Alistair McLean, the Nurses, the Defenders, East Side, West Side, George.
Was it Balanchine? Was that his name?
Patton.
George Patton. Oh, George Patton. Jeez, wow.
The actor that played Patton.
And you're a teenager meeting all these folks.
Yeah, rubbing elbows with all of them. And then my
Amazing.
teacher there was Frank Silvera, was a black actor who never played black characters. He played the General Huerta and Viva Zapata. He played the chief, the Polynesian chief in Mutiny on a Bounty. He was always
Oh,
playing
wow.
Ben Gazzara and Anthony Krause's father in Hatful of Rain.
Mhm.
He was the wise guy, the wise old man of the actor studio. That was my acting.
Right. Right.
Very formative years.
Now, unbelievable. You know, you'd mentioned when you went, I'm not sure, I think you were in your 20s. You did a tour. You were up, I think you were up in Connecticut, if I remember correctly, and you were starring in a play. Am I right? Or was it Delaware?
Well, what was the incident? The
You were doing a play. I think it was it with Shirley Winters?
No, it was with Shirley Booth.
Shirley Booth, my bad. Shirley Booth.
Where the old Biden territory, and we were at the DuPont Hotel in the DuPont Theater. And I was told to be careful because that's below the Mason-Dixon line. And in some places will not accept you. Very sophisticated. I walked the streets and I looked and I saw this restaurant, the New England Seafood House, raw oysters. I walked in there and stood there for an hour and a half. I found the lady came up to me with a smile on her face because she didn't like what she was saying. She said, "We don't serve black people." So it hit me in the bottom of the mouth because I never got those reactions. When I went to the South as a young person and I changed trains, I was picked up at the station and taken straight to the farm. So I never really got punched in the chest with racism until that time. So now Shirley Booth is the star of the show. And I go to the restaurant, I go to rehearsal, and I ordered room service. And they took a minute. I finally go to the rehearsal, and I had just 3 or 4 lines, and I could forget them, pick up my cue. The stage manager's about to fire me. My heart was broken. Shirley Booth said, "Wait a minute, something's wrong with him." And I told her the story. She said, "You go back to your room. We'll be in touch with you in a minute." What Shirley did was call Mansion Row, where all of the mansions were all the rich people. DuPont Row. There was
Okay.
mansion after mansion after mansion. They ran Wilmington, Delaware. And within an hour and a half, I get knocks on my door with all kinds of cards and menus from every restaurant in Wilmington, Delaware. "We want to honor you." But she called the DuPonts and said, "If you don't take better care of this young man, I'm picking up and I'm going home."
Wow. Wow.
So all of a sudden, it went split. So one of my best friends today is Penny DuPont, redheaded girl from one of the DuPont families. I don't know. Oh, she's still fine. I'd like to see her again. But I went to every mansion. They even have a mansion for the elderly. They have a mansion for the sick ones, the ones with polio. They have mansions for different things, all DuPonts. And
That's nice to hear.
Yeah, that's what the DuPonts had mansions. Oh, got 30 or 40 mansions, and were called DuPont Row. It's a great.
Shirley Booth stood up for you.
Yeah.
How old were you at the time, Lou?
19.
Wow.
19. So
it's so heavy to hear that. I mean, you know, it can kind of get lost in the mix, you know, hearing something like that. But you're 19 years old, and you know you've never faced that. You grew up in Brooklyn, and like you say, you had every nationality in the world in your neighborhood.
Yeah, I didn't understand. They took care of me. That wasn't the first time somebody took care of me because of the color of my skin. It happened in schools. It happened in public school, junior high school. Well, I was president of junior high school.
No kidding.
They named the park after me, and I said, "No, name the park after the principal." But I was the president of junior high school, and the high school, and we were this. So it took that experience in Wilmington, Delaware. But it hit me. I didn't understand. I thought she was laughing. I thought she was telling me a joke. I thought, so it hit really deeply. Of course, the second time, you know, it's in the book. It happened in 1963 in Los Angeles.
That's what I was going to get to. Do you mind talking about that?
Anyway, I was insulated, not insulated, protected. That's them. This is us. So all those people, the Marty Landows, those Jack Palances, those Ralph Meekers, those Lee Grants, and those Bridges, Lloyd Bridges, all those people. We hugged one another because of the experience. They all came to me and said, "We're sorry for that. That's not us." So I worked. Me and Cicely, we worked all the time. Raymond St. Jacques. We're going to be different from them. So Hollywood was in Los Angeles, was in New York. That's where George C. Scott had his thing, and it was the top television series, the movies of the week, the Hallmark Hall of Fame,
Right.
The Kinescope, which was live television, and so we were all like this. So,
Right.
so they put the fear away. It was us against them, if you want to call it that.
Mhm.
So that's where Jacob Javits, where Jackie Robinson got his first start. It's the birth of Ralph Bunche, the first ambassador of the United Nations.
That's right.
NAACP, Jackie Robinson for Dodgers. So we looked at the Harlem Globetrotters. We had all kinds. Shirley Chisholm, first black president, female, to run for president.
Yes.
So special time. Paul Robeson was safe there. Then here comes Harry Belafonte, and then Sydney. And, oh, what an insulated, beautiful thing. So now I'm with the William Morris Agency. The great Ron Meyer, who was just a kid with curly hair down in the printing room. And all those guys are running the business now are down there. So Lou Watson says, we're going to do some movies of the week. Let's call Louis, we call him. They said Louis, so they sent me my ticket, TWA Airlines. And they put me on a propeller. I thought the plane was on fire because the engine, and they could bring the Chateaubriand steaks. They slice it in your, oh my God, my mouth is watering even now.
Mm.
Lobster tail. And oh God, they took care of me. It took 6 hours, maybe longer, to get from New York to California. And they thought I was an African diplomat because they treated me so well. When I got off the plane, and a limousine let me out first. The plane let me out first. Then I went down and they put me in a limousine, boxcar looking limousine.
Wow.
To Beverly Hills Hotel. I'm in seventh heaven, man. I'm in seventh heaven. I'm in Hollywood. This is with Cary Grant, Gary Cooper, and all my favorite Randolph Scott. Woo! You know,
Exactly.
at the Beverly Hills Hotel, the presidential suite. They're treating me like so beautiful. Under orders, obviously. And then finally, they said, "You have a car." And if you know Los Angeles, you have a car. It's over Crescent Heights in Sunset. Budget rent a car. Now, if you take a car from Crescent Heights to Sunset back to the Beverly Hills, it's maybe 20 minutes.
Maybe.
It took 4.5 hours. So since that thing in Wilmington, it was a Ford Galaxy 500 with a hardtop convertible.
Wow.
Red interior. And I was in Coney Island, Brooklyn. I turned on Sam Cooke. And me and Sam Cooke went trailing down Sunset Boulevard. And the first thing I heard was, "Ow!" Cops pulled me over. I said, "Turn that thing down. Get out the car." My heart started beating like a sledgehammer. What's happening? Who are you? Who do you think you are? Get out the car. Sit on the curb. I look around. Nobody's paying attention to me. Nobody's helping me. So finally, they took all my stuff and they threw it all in my bag in the ground. Some of it got wet. "Don't you move." They took my stuff and they made call to see if there was wanted, and they threw it in the front seat. "Now behave yourself." Another 10 minutes, another bunch of guys. All these. I met every cop within Crescent Heights and Beverly Hills Hotel in Los Angeles.
Wow.
I went everywhere to see this upstart. You must not be from around here. 4.5 hours later, rain. I go up to the hotel to take a shower because I couldn't go to the bathroom. Then take a shower and a bath. And the hotel owner says, "That's the way they are." Because their parents, they worked in the factory during World War II. They come out of Mississippi and Oklahoma. And it doesn't fit the way they were raised. So take a deep breath and let them slide. So I got, oh, thank you. So I got some more prime rib, Yorkshire pudding, strawberry shortcake. They treated me like a king in Beverly Hills Hotel. They said, "You know what? The owner said, the manager of the hotel says, here's the movie stars, here's a map of the movie stars' homes. Right down the street is where Merle Oberon lives. Remember Merle Oberon? The
I
actress?
do.
And there was a couple others. Let's go see how they live. It was about 8 o'clock, 8:30. I go out because my stomach was full. And within 15 minutes, the Beverly Hills cops pulled me over. I said, who you are? Somebody, I don't want to, don't say anything. And they had handcuffed me to a tree.
Jesus.
This is within 24 hours. Now, by the time they let me go, I go back to the Beverly Hills Hotel. I'm ready to get back on plane.
Yeah.
I call my parents. My father said he'd be right there. He's in Coney Island. He's gonna be right there. And my mom said, "Come on home." Then I called Ed Bundy, mate. He says, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "Well, I'll be ready in the morning to go to work." He says, "That's what I thought you'd do." We call them names that I can't mention here.
Okay.
Right. So now I get picked up, and I looked kind of like Randolph Scott. He didn't like driving me to the university. But that's his job. So I stopped at the gate, and the man at the gate said, "Welcome, Mr. Gossett." I got in, and it was hit and miss, depending on where they came from. So I finally got the clothing, and I played a movie called Companions in Nightmare. All-star cast. The first movie of the week for ABC. Starring Gig Young, Melvin Douglas, Ann Baxter, Donna Winter, Patrick O'Neill, Leslie Nielsen, Melvin Douglas, and me.
Wow. Quite a lineup.
So it was a physical therapy group. One of those guys is killing. Each one is getting a die. And Gig Young got, before there was an Emmy, Gig Young got the Best Actor award. That's the first movie of the week. This piece of trivia was with me and them.
So Gig Young was the first winner.
And Gig Young. Yeah.
Wow.
And
What year was that, Lou?
1966.
Jeez. I mean, that's not that long ago at all.
Lord became one of my best friends. I was getting ready to do a Alfred Hitchcock movie because he was there. I saw Ralph Meeker there. I saw Paul Newman and Joanne. I saw them. I had to pick and choose who I wanted to hang out with. And of course, I was there earlier with Origin and the Sun, but we had to go to the black hotels for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been seasoned. For some reason, God has chosen me to still be alive to tell these stories. There's so many stories to tell, and I had to go through so many changes and come out the other end positive.
Right.
But I've lost half a kidney. I've lost a kidney. I've been beaten up. I've been mistreated. I've been sued. I've been ripped off. I've been called the N-word, different places on sets, been spit in the face. I've been underpaid. For some magical, godlike reason, I'm sitting here talking to you after almost 70 years of professional acting.
It's amazing. You know, you're saying all that, and I'm thinking, you know, like it's like this career. I'm telling you, but for anyone who's listening to this career is challenging. I don't have
all those feelings in the characters I played.
And that's as you're telling this all these stories.
The studio, use it. Yeah, they used to use it. Use those feelings.
Yeah, well, I mean right. That's the beauty of acting. You take all of this stuff that's happening to you in your life, right? And I'm thinking of you telling all these stories. You're telling them. I'm thinking, you know, that's the beauty of art. You know, that it allows you. You know, I always, you know, the tagline for this show is "Art is life, and life is art." And I mean, I think you've beautifully demonstrated exactly why I, you know, say that, and I've used that as a tagline because, you know, I remember so many times when actors start coming up, and I think you already addressed this indirectly. They'll tell you to go out and get a life, get some life experience, right? And get that sense memory. You know, the life voice. I still to this day, I'm trying not to laugh as you're telling the story. She came up smelling like Life Boy soap, and it's Marilyn Monroe.
They set her up. She would have gotten an Oscar if she had stayed with Arthur Miller. I saw her do some pretty fantastic moments in that theater.
I'll bet.
Somebody pulled her up. She was
I'll
incredible.
bet.
Named Desire. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. That, I mean, it's amazing when you sit there and talk about these folks that you came up with. I'm like, oh my God, you know, it's just, it's rarefied air, and you know, it's just, it's great to hear these stories. I know you've told them a million times, but honest to God, they never get old. They're beautiful.
Yeah, well, and the other part, and this is why it's time for us to do this interview now rather than before, and
Yes.
identify with the mixing of races romantically. And
Elaborate, please.
you know, so now here I am in Brooklyn, where I get raised by my buddies. There's no difference. It's Coney Island, man. It's the melting pot. So I didn't get that. So my dates were every race. The least of which were I didn't hang out with black women because they smelled like burnt hair. They had that hair. And I didn't like the smell. Otherwise, I liked them, but it was just like Mama. I'm gonna date Mama, you know. So
I
I
love
never.
my wife, but I hate when she burns her damn hair. Come on, man. You're
Yeah, so
killing me right now.
here we are. So it's not in my system. So whoever I dated, I'll
Yeah.
mention some that I dated. You know, there was uh, some wonderful actors and actresses of all races, and so I used to hang out with all of them. And I used to be in the village because there was a little bit of a taint from people coming from other places. But my high school date was a Jewish girl, but name was Sue Yellen, and she went straight to the Barbados, and she did jazz concerts. And so you Sue Yellen, and there was Carole King, and there was Barbara Streisand, and there was Elliot Gould,
Yeah.
and so that's where we hung out. Everything was okay. And you can't take that to Hollywood if those years, unless you find your people up in Pennsylvania somewhere. You can't take, you know, but it was natural. It was a great attraction. And I wasn't looking at the color of the woman. I was looking at the woman.
Right. Right. Right.
If we hit it
Here,
off,
here.
yeah, I went to the Troubadour, you know, and watched Bob Dylan sing and Joan Judy Collins. We had some lunches and dinners, and Mama Cass and Joan Baez. Those are my sisters.
Amazing.
Come on, Odetta.
No kidding. Odetta?
There's our society, man. Nina Simone. We didn't think about the difference in the color. We were a family.
Right.
But
Right, man. Right. Right on.
Went to the Oscars, and I took a light-skinned girl to the Oscars, and she was from Jamaica, a Chinese girl from Jamaica, and they're getting ready to put me out because I thought I was with a white girl.
Oh, wow.
That's I can't remember, in the early 60s.
Really so. Okay. So how did you meet Richie?
Richie Havens?
Yeah.
Well, Richie Havens goes back to Brooklyn. He was part of
Oh, so Richie's from Brooklyn?
what you called the McRae Gospel Singers. And I was part of the intermediate choir of the First Baptist Church of Coney Island. And then the intermediate choir of the First Baptist Church of Coney Island were the Chiffons. Chiffons, Dorothy Jones, Marilyn McRae, and that's the original Raelettes. So on Sunday afternoon at the Brooklyn Paramount, we had a contest, a gospel singing contest. And every one Sunday, especially in the summertime, I was on the stage with the Gospel Brothers or that choir. Then Richie had the group called the McRae Gospel Singers. Then there's the Five Blind Boys with Ray Charles and Al Hibbler. Then there was Dixie with Jackie, I can't remember her last name, Jackie Wilson. And then there was the Five Blind Boys with Ray Charles and Al Hibbler. And every Sunday we'd sing gospel. We'd never win. We'd always lose because they knew how to collapse. Yeah, Jesus, you know, and they'd be
Sure.
But it was a great thing to do, to be with that society.
That's amazing, Lou.
Yeah, it's Brooklyn Paramount. Where now this is where they play basketball. They built the whole thing down there.
The Barclays Center, you mean?
Barclays Center is where the Brooklyn Paramount used to be.
Wow. So that's where you met Richie Havens.
Yeah, then we met him again in the village.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And he used to sing, he had no teeth.
Right.
He sang with teeth in. So he did with no teeth. Because he knew how to pronounce it. He'd done that ever since he was a child.
Right.
And almost won a lot of contests. and me and him got tight, and we'd sing together. And finally, I got a job at the Young Rebels in California, and my partner was the late Felix Albert Pappalardi. And Felix Albert Pappalardi discovered Eric Clapton and produced Cream. And he went drug ways, and his wife killed him because he took the last hit of the heroin. She shot him. Now I'm in California,
Right.
Young Rebels. At the same time, the Monkees were there, and the season, the series, the Young Rebels failed because they didn't Robert Fry. They had early let's see, Rick Ely played the young lead. They had Alex Henteloff who played a young Benjamin Franklin. Then I can't remember the girl's name, but she played a young Betsy Ross. Philippe Fouquet played a young General Lafayette, and I was the man who took care of the horses. And so we would beat the British. That was called the Young Rebels, and it failed. So now the landlord's putting me out, Laurel Canyon, and he's back in the truck and putting all my stuff in the truck. And that very same day, the mailman comes and says, "Is this you?" And I said, a whole bunch of letters.
Right.
And I took the top letter, and it was a check from Unart Music, United Artists Music, for Handsome Johnny, over $70,000. Woodstock and sang it in mixed bag.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So for those listening who are not familiar with what Lou's talking about, he performed a song. You wrote the song, didn't you? Yeah. So you wrote Handsome Johnny.
Yeah. Hey,
and I'm so, I'm sorry, what's that?
Concord. Looked like Handsome Johnny with a flintlock in his hand. Marching from the Concord War. Marching from the Concord War. And it's a long, hard road. Long, hard road. Long, hard road. Before we'll be free. Every time he's going to a field, his weapon changes. At the end, me and Richie rewrote something. What's the use of singing this song? Some of you are not even listening. Here comes the hydrogen bomb. What do we have to do? What do we have to do to wait for our fields to start glistening? Wait for our fields to start glistening. Long, hard road. Long, hard road. Long, hard road. Before we'll be free. And he's singing. First song sung in Woodstock.
That's right.
Sold enough money in the Woodstock album and Richie's album to keep me from being evicted from my Laurel Canyon home.
Okay, so I mean, how great is that story? Honest to God. Woof.
It's amazing
Man.
stuff. Amazing stuff is, and so here I am, back, when you think about the gratitude, here I am in Brooklyn, sounding like a Jewish person with a coin, never acted before in my life. Here I am on Broadway a year later, learning how to act for the first time in a lead in a Broadway show. Who would have thought, how did that happen? So now you're thinking about this and you think about all the stuff that happens, being nearly to having best friends like Paul Robeson, Lena Horne, Adam Clayton Powell, getting hugs, having a great grandmama like that. If that's not a blessed life, I don't know what is. You're waiting for the curtain to finally go down. All my life, I'm waiting for the curtain I'm waiting for the dream to stop. Every now and then it did stop, but I was sold. I needed the dream to continue on.
Right.
So to get to Hollywood and to hear that I was handcuffed to a tree and have some of the white actors come in and support me. And I said, don't leave the cops alone because then they'll take it out on me. But I got support from Lou Wasserman, from Universal. And so all of a sudden I became very popular. I became popular enough for people to come and take me to dinners to the Brown Derby, for example, where not black people had never gone. And they took me to Make a Point.
Oh my God.
Middle of the room. See who took me there. I think it was Ralph Mika, I think it was Jack Palance. I think it was Darth Roberts, who was my co-mate, Anne Margaret. We're gonna make a point. We come from New York. We don't want any more of this BS.
Right.
If they can't take care of you, they can't take care of us. So where blacks were not allowed to make a point. So it was it's a blessing. It's what a how
It's incredible. I'm sitting here listening to this, and we've talked about this before, and I know you've talked about this, but it really truly is. Because and this goes back to what I was saying, like, we're going through chaos, but then there's a reorganization at a higher level. You get Lou Wasserman, for anyone who's not familiar with Lou Wasserman ran this town. It was MGM, right? Right.
Universal.
Yes. He ran this town, and for him to be calling you and then standing up for you, and then they take you to the Brown Derby, which was the joint to go to. And to all these other places, and then all the artists. How beautiful is that? They all rally around you and say truthfully and honestly, that's the beauty of artists, to remind everybody, like, if it can happen to the least of us, and this is no disparagement, Lou, but you know what I'm saying, collectively, people looking at Black folks as less than, the insanity of that. If you're going to do that to my brother, well, you're going to do that to me, so I've got to stand up for my brother or my sister, right?
Absolutely. They did the same thing for Rita Moreno.
Rita went through, oh my God. Yeah.
So those are the East Coast actors, singers, and dancers. The Kenny Ortega, and all those guys who said, enough of this. It's better in New York, and we have to be out here in California. We're not going to go for your BS. We're going to bring this to Hollywood. So that's what that was about. So there was the insulation, and then eventually began to fade back into the right way. And it was the darkness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it'll happen from time to time.
Yeah, well, now we're coming out of the darkness today.
You just said Kenny Ortega. I just watched, for the second, third or fourth time probably, Michael Jackson's Last Thing. This Is It, before he died.
You remember that documentary about when they did that? This is it. That's what it was. Yeah.
This is it. And Kenny directed the whole thing. Wow. What a talent.
So
both of them. I mean, my God.
Out of at the Actors Studio out of New York, where things are really real, and we have to bring that reality. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Kenny Ortega. Thank you, Leonard Bernstein. Thank you, Woody Allen. Thank you, to bring the reality. Marlon Brando, Elia Kazan. Thank you for bringing reality to the motion picture industry.
Amen. Right on.
So they brought this reality from New York. It took a minute because the guy, what's his name? Well, his real name was Dalton Trumbo.
Right.
That's the name of Joseph Rich for Country Girl.
Okay.
He changed his name so he could qualify the screenwriter for Country Girl with Grace Kelly and William Holden. Country Girl. The writer was Dalton Trumbo, but he was submitted Joseph Rich because of the communist problem.
That whole blacklisting business that went on.
Those are the blacklist people that
were
behind the scenes that started the society in Brooklyn, New York.
Interesting.
They were unionists. That's where the Actors Equity got born, and Screen Actors Guild got born, and what it was, unions. That's what one time it's not like the McCarthy era. This was the Estes Kefauver era.
Right.
So they organized Hollywood very well, but they proved the point. They had to give the Oscar to Dalton Trumbo.
Speaking of Oscar, shall we talk about that?
Anything you want, yeah. It's time to speak up.
Listen, the whole honest, I say this all the time. You probably like, Dar, shut up. And okay, I get it. But your portrayal in that movie was so amazing. And you always downplay, brother. And I get that. Just hear me out. They're just words on a paper. And this is no disparagement to any writer, because writing is really tough. Acting is just as tough. And to take those words off that page and to create that character, dude, come on. Come on, man.
Went down to San Diego and made the DIs, the real DIs, teach me. And the other one came up with me, lived with me, and dressed me in the morning, and put me into the regiment. They're the ones that should get the Oscar, not me. They made that a real movie. It wasn't a Hollywood movie. But Richard Gere had to learn it too, because he said, I'm a star this year, I'm going to win the fight. And he said, you can win the fight if you want to, but it'll never be on the movies because we're going to tear this thing down. You're going to lie about us? No.
Yeah, that would never happen in real life. That's true.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was a hot and cold kind of thing. But we started to talk about the mixed races dating. So I'm prepared to date anybody. So even in Officer and Gentleman, I was with a man who was once married to Carl Franklin, the great actor and director.
Yes.
Funny roughness. She looked like Rhonda Fleming. And I didn't know that she was a sacrificial lamb to a pimp, but she fell in love with me. She brought my food, took care of me when I was on a set 20 miles away from everybody else. When they found out that she was living there, all hell broke loose.
No kidding.
Made me angrier in the character. But when the word got out that she was my lady and we're about to get married, I started to suffer loss of work. Couldn't find a good dentist, a good lawyer, a good accountant. They took my money. They put me, give me small rooms, and they invented Samuel Jackson and those particular people to replace me because I was being punished.
Interesting.
So now, fade out, fade in.
Okay.
Today, over the last 70 years, the thing called, I think it's called the tall poppy principle. And the tall poppy principle started way back in Europe somewhere. If you're Greek and your enemy was Italian, all the Italians had to behave themselves. And the ones who didn't behave themselves and rallied was taller than the rest of them, then you could cut them down. So now the tall poppy principle, as far as the Jewish people had it in Germany, and the black people had it in the United States. So starting way back from Jack Johnson to way back to Ira Aldrich, if they made some kind of headway to rally the people, Frederick Douglass, they either were dead, injured, or rendered impotent. And
yeah, you're right about that.
There's over 150 of those men. Because what has happened to me as a result of my not being prejudiced against who I was dating, I dated Chinese, Indians, Africans, Italians, Spaniards over this period, and they're still some of my best friends today, including people who are not remain from the White House and other capitals. I was invited in all through Greece, all through Egypt, all through Israel, all through Australia, to some of the most beautiful women in the world. Knock wood. So I'm not Lead Belly or anybody like that, or Jack Johnson. I just didn't have that prejudice in me. So we had to hide our relationships. The word would get out. This is why you don't hear much about me. Because it was my fame was kept quiet, which is where thank God Samuel Jackson would have made it anyway.
Yeah.
So Danny Glover, but it helped by them stepping on my toes. And they told Samuel Jackson, shave your head and put an earring in your ear. I want you to play this part. That's supposed to be my part. So now here we are in 2020, and I'm still here. So
yes, you are.
I'm Sam, and it's just me and God and the world.
I love it. Hey, speaking of 2020, you, God, and the world, as you're shooting movies left and right, and you're on this hit show, Watchmen. What's happening with when are you guys going to start shooting it, or have you already started?
No, the producer walked out because I don't know what they asked him to do, but he said no. And maybe we'll a story, but he walked out. He wants to stay intact the way it was put on the air in front of 6 million people. So
wild.
Whatever.
It's amazing that anything ever gets made. You know, the creative process is so fraught with so many.
So the point is that all of this stuff, this separate thing, the in and the out crowds, all of it must go in the garbage, regardless of we're justified to feel that way. got to
Yep.
go to God and be replaced
Yep.
with one people saving one people. And that's why we have these masks on today. That's why the Watchman is so important. That's why we're being careful who we touch and who we talk to. We're all the same these days. But when we find out that we take better care of ourselves and one another, that everybody gets saved, that pandemic will magically disappear.
You know, that's probably not too far from how it'll happen too.
I think that's what's happening. So I'm very positive about that. We need
Yeah.
to look at sports, look at our children dancing together, look at some of the children making in the All-Star games. They're mixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
That old stuff's got to go away. In the garbage. In the garbage.
It's, you know, I agree with you. It's got to go in the garbage. Once that, you know, it's a natural progression.
Self-destructive.
Yeah, it is.
Indivisible. How are you gonna be indivisible if you cut lines between one and another? That doesn't make any common sense. Doesn't make sense.
Kind of against what the country's founded on, right?
Oh, hello.
I mean, I say this all the time lately. And by the way, I never used to talk about politics, and we're not going to get political any more than we already have.
Politics.
But this country's an experiment. It's an experiment. It's never happened.
We're not 12 years old.
Yeah, we're not, you know, we're only a couple of 100 years old, and you know, we're going to have hiccups and bumps. We're in the middle of one of it. It's not the end of the world. We're going to get through it, but
it's the beginning. And what did Churchill say? This is it's not the end, it's the beginning of the end, or something like that.
I don't remember that one. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
We shouldn't worry as much as we do. We have to
True.
with the knowledge of the truth in the front of our face on a daily basis.
You know, say it. Go ahead. Say it.
We need to wake up in the morning with the truth, absolute truth in the front of our face and carry 24/7, knowing that we're never going to be in charge. And God wants it that way for our mutual salvation.
Yeah.
There's only one actor left, so it doesn't make sense to shoot or put your knee on a big black man and kill him, because you're killing a potential man who's going to save your life.
That's right.
And
That's
girl,
right.
how could she hurt you? You shoot that girl. That's that old virus, that old cancer. That girl might come up with an idea to save your ass. Excuse my expression. It doesn't make sense.
It's true. It doesn't make any sense. It's the truth.
Sense, right?
That's the ultimate virus in this country that needs to be eradicated.
It's the first one.
It is. And it's deep in the roots of this country. And the sooner that we can acknowledge it, identify it, embrace it, and then work to erase-ism it, like the tie-in. That's right. That's right. You know, you said something about worrying. You shouldn't worry about this thing. So I was listening to somebody yesterday, and he said, you know, worrying is the worst form of prayer there is. And I thought about that. I was like, it's the truth. You know, when you're worrying about something, what is prayer? Your mind is fixed on something. If you choose to, you know, pray, if you're atheist, well, I get it. Just bear with me. But whatever you're focused on, you know, that is what your prayer is. And your brain doesn't differentiate. It doesn't say, oh, okay, this is what he doesn't want, or this is what she doesn't want. The brain just looks at whatever you're focusing on and gives it to you. So if that's the case, you're right. Stop worrying and focus on the truth of who we are and what we are, and work towards achieving that.
Another contribution from the oldest culture, the African culture, every man was called a complete entity, which means you can walk by yourself and survive. So
right.
Now, if you had a worry,
right,
you had to get rid of that worry by hook or crook, excuse my expression, because if that worry stays in your system, it comes out as cancer, comes out as high blood pressure, pneumonia, because it lives in your body.
True.
As soon as you feel that worry, you move to get rid of it and get it out of your system as fast as possible.
True.
You know,
True.
So, and that's where the gold comes from. You put gold in some water and let it sit up on itself for 30 days and drink the water, and cancer is gone. Had nothing to do with it being expensive. It had to do with stuff that's needed, you know, lead, gold, silver, bauxite, whatever it was. That's all we
You remind me of colloidal silver and gold. Yeah, I remember that. People talking about that, drinking it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, now there's a contribution. The contribution comes from South America, comes from Africa, comes from Polynesia, All the
Right.
things that you crush the beetles up and you put something in it and you take it and you put it on a wound or whatever it is. Everybody's got something to offer for a mutual salvation. And the world starts to blossom once again. But the smelling, I've never smelled a rose that smelled as good as it did when I was a child. The roses that smell so good, and the gardenias. So we have that to look forward to. We have to look forward to.
I think I agree with you. I think that the best is yet to come, no matter how bleak it may seem, right? Or that it actually is.
It's blind
ever.
faith. It's blind faith.
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to have faith that things will get better, because the human spirit is indomitable. It will survive regardless.
We have to know
And
it's going to get better.
what's that?
We have to know that it's going to get better.
That's exactly right. You have to know it's going to get better. And by knowing it's going to get better and holding on to that, you can help create it. We all can. And that's the art is life, life is art angle. It's the truth, though. It's the truth, though. You got to bring it to life.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. One last one before we wrap it up. When are we working together? Or better yet, when are the three of us, Donsley, you and I, working together?
Well, I don't know. Me and Donsley have been whispering together. We're trying to figure out how we can get you involved.
Okay. Just wanted to put that out there. I know you know that.
We will.
I'm having a laugh because we're on.
I was the king of bringing some of the exotic marijuana and different things, because I got a chance in the village to bring some great stuff that people never tried. So I was sent to Jamaica. I was about 22 years old, very sophisticated, And so in the middle of the summer, I had a silk shirt on. I went to Jamaica in search of the great ganja.
Okay.
World famous ganja.
Right.
So here I am, and I say, hey man, I'm told to go and get a Rasta. And the Rastas they had the machetes on the side. Go to Kingston and find a Rasta, and he'll take you to the place. So here I am, sophisticated, soaking wet, so hot.
I was going to say.
I said, hey man, where'd you get the ganja? You look at me and says, come here. Get in the car. We go all the way up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 miles to the top of Jamaica, Kingston.
Right.
Coffee
Right.
plantation. And in between the coffee plantation is this giant marijuana plants. And naked children, the dogs, and everybody stopped. So I get out of the car and says, go in there. So I go in and it's pitch black in it. All of a sudden you see a fire and a black face and white smoke. And the fire goes back. And the embers goes to the next person. And it opens a fire, big white smoke, and the thing's getting closer and closer to me. I said, oh my God, I'm gonna. So I take it, and I thought I was going to die. Fire hit my chest. I mean, marijuana pulled out of my forehead, my eyes. I could hear sound. And they're looking at me, trying to get my attention. I said, hey man, how much you want? So I reached in my sock and I pulled out something. They gave me a shopping bag full of the stuff. I'm still trying to be cool, right? So I get the shopping bag and I'm looking at the place and they're looking at me like this. And then going around, okay, one more kid, man. Oh, okay, one more. And I'm out and it's bright sunlight when I come out of the place. The whole village stops. The naked children, the dogs stop in mid-scratch. The women stop and I go in and get in my car. I said, I think they're going to kill me. They're going to take my money.
Right.
And so I get in the car, and of course, they're taking my steering wheel. Now I'm trying to figure out what am I going to do, because it's good stuff. So maybe I can figure out, put some in my back pocket and run over the mountain. And what am I going to do? And I'm going back and forth trying to figure out how I'm going to get it. 20 minutes later, the highway went down, and I realized I was Jamaica, and the steering wheel's over there on my right hand side.
Oh my God.
Now I got to get out. And I go around as if I knew it all along, right?
Right.
In the car, and I go down, and everybody's laughing as hard as they can, including the dogs. So I went, ah. Takes them an hour. I go down to the hotel, and even the doorman is laughing at me. They laughed me off of the island of Jamaica. That's my ganja experience. I left it up and halfway up the mountain. I was so paranoid. the expert.
Amazing.
All of that's in the past. I can tell the story.
Right. I had a similar experience in Jamaica. It wasn't quite like that, but I went to Jamaica going on vacation, and I told the guy who was driving me from the airport to where the hotel, say, hey, look, I got to try the ganja. And he's like, oh, the ganja. Oh, okay.
Okay.
And he's looking at me like, okay, white boy. And, you know, I'm just on vacation and I'm young and just pretty much a dumbass. And a very similar situation. I had to walk back into the jungle with these Rasta brothers with no shirts on,
Right.
just super fit. And the same thing, they said, you know, here, take this. And then I took a hit off of it. I didn't know if I was coming or going.
There you go.
And they're laughing at me and they go, you know, how much do you want? I'm like, I don't know, a little bit. And they didn't give me like a big bag, but they gave me like a, what do you call it? Like a lunch bag, paper bag.
Yeah, yeah.
And I gave them like $100 and they just started to laugh and laugh and laugh. And they're like, all right, go on, man, you know, piss off. And I couldn't find my way back to the bus and they kept laughing. And finally some poor soul took pity on me.
Favorite place to go now, though. Most favorite place to go.
It's great. It's great. Yeah.
We're getting to near the end.
We are at the end, and my wife is off camera, but she's saying hi to you.
Hello, sweetheart. How you doing? She's a real
Lou says hello.
Is that a real live Abernathy?
It's a real live Abernathy.
All right.
She's waving. She's doing her writing. So
I got
you. Yeah.
Well, I've come just recently. Things have been good and bad. They're not good and bad. Full. So now there comes a point when every person who's alive, who's an adult, man or woman, black or white, doesn't matter, has to be one-on-one with God eventually.
Yep.
It's happening now. It's supposed to this election. And we have to be truthful and authentic to ourselves. It's happening even as we speak. There's no time for any covering up of any smoothness, no ulterior motives, no loopholes. It's just us, God, and the mirror. We have to make that unanimous decision, who's in charge and who's not, and go for it without any reservation. That's what we're up against.
True.
I pray that we make the right decision. When if nothing,
I do too.
This is one decision. It's us, it's God first, us next, and our mutual salvation. That's what I pray for on a daily basis.
I love it.
All right.
I love it. Lou, thank you.
We'll break bread.
I miss you.
All right.
We will talk soon. And hopefully we might even be out in Atlanta in the not too distant future.
I look forward to it. We'll break bread here.
Absolutely.
Bye, actress.
All right, brother. Bye. Lou says bye, actress.
Talk to you later, man.
Love you, man. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.